Hello, I'm Pip Courtney. I hope you all had a very Merry Christmas. Welcome to A Taste of Landline, where we bring you the very best of food, fibre and more from around Australia. Coming up, the country rockers hanging on to the family farm.
Different crops, more crops, and I think that will add a whole nother life to this property.
What it takes to film a landline story, and who thought celery could be so interesting.
Hello, I'm Kerry State. After more than 5 decades of growing vegetables near Melbourne, one of the country's best-known celery producers is relocating because of urban sprawl. The family that made celery sexy with a sultry logo is confident the risky move will pay off. The homemade machines have been modified and the handling refined, but the basic routine is very well rehearsed. For more than 50 years, celery has been grown and harvested on this family farm at Clyde on the outskirts of Melbourne.
I've basically grown up with this since I was a young child, and it's just in my blood, really. It's a family thing that we've always done and don't really know too much else.
Adam Schroers is a third-generation celery grower and looks after the farming side of the business. 4 years ago, he teamed up with 2 of his cousins to buy the company from older family members, including his dad, who wanted to retire.
I think it's fantastic. I would have been very sad to see all that hard work gone to waste, because the business was running at a nice profit and would love seeing it go on.
Adam's grandparents came to Australia from the Netherlands in the late 1950s. After starting in the flower trade, they moved on to vegetables when they rented a 7-hectare block at Dingley. They introduced the Dutch carrot and started their love affair with celery. This was a family business from the start, with the couple's sons also out in the field from an early age. And one thing they quickly learned was celery is a thirsty crop.
They only had, I think, 3 sprinklers that they could move around on a hose. They would often lose crops and have to make a decision on which crops to keep and which to irrigate. So they soon realised that irrigation was the key.
When the family bought their first property at Clyde, they built a very big dam to make sure they wouldn't run out again.
And everyone did laugh at them at the time, back in the early 70s, I think, and people thought it was over the top, but now it's almost the done thing.
It's also invested heavily in cutting-edge water technology indoors.
Water gets pumped out at high pressure, about 45,000 psi, which can cut off your hand or your finger if you're not careful. So what it does, it gives it a much cleaner cut than using a knife. So it's about having a sanitised cut and an efficient and effective cut.
The company produces 20,000 tonnes of celery a year, as well as 2,000 tonnes of leeks and 1,000 tonnes of baby leaf greens like rocket and spinach. Like a growing number of food producers, it's tapping into the convenience market to give the classic vegetable a more modern look.
It's a great snacking vegetable, and I think if we can do more with it, we can obviously increase the sales of that product.
As the Schroers focus on reinventing that tucker to take the company into the future, they're also holding on to the past when it comes to the branding, albeit with a few modest tweaks to the original sultry logo their grandfather came up with.
So they came up with this ingenious idea of putting a girl in a bikini on the box. And legend has it that people would ask my grandfather, oh, who is it? And he would say, oh, it's my wife. So we've remodelled her to make it a bit more appealing, or a bit more politically correct, and we've given it a name, Joanne, after our grandmother. So she's always on our carton, and she's on some of our packaging as well. Yeah.
So it's the same figure with a few more clothes on, is it?
Yes, pretty much. Yeah, yeah. But it's got that story behind it, and I think it's a nice story. Some people don't like it, but it's done more good than harm for us, I think, over the years.
Some of the changes the cousins are making are far more dramatic.
Looking over where the new dam's going to go, and we're looking at making it squarer now rather than longer because of the prevailing winds from that way.
In a room overlooking the land that has sustained the family for more than 50 years, all eyes are focused on the design of their new farm.
We're in the process of moving, mainly because of the urban sprawl that's moving out our way. We have houses now, double-storey houses up against our fence, and it was actually quite surreal. Not long ago I walked out in the paddock and you look up and there's people looking at you out of their window, and only 18 months ago they were all paddocks. So it's just too busy, and it's not an environment to farm in anymore, really.
This is their new home, a 350-hectare property on the Tarwin River in South Gippsland. After a successful trial last year, it's now full steam ahead, converting the former dairy farm into a food bowl. There are already a couple of potato and snow pea producers around here. Compared to where the family has spent the last 5 decades, though, this is a relatively undiscovered vegetable growing region. But the cousins say the soil, climate and access to water convinced them this was the right move. Is this where it all starts, is it?
It is, Kerry. We produce something like it'd be millions of seeds here.
Planting the right varieties of celery at the new farm is also vital. And that's where Chris's dad, Tom, comes in. He's still the brains behind the company's in-house breeding program. I've noticed there's a lot of flies around here. I presume that's intentional, is it?
Yes. They do the job of pollinating the flowers. They jump from one flower to the next and pollinate whatever we need. And without the flies, I couldn't produce the seed here, really. Because
most people
bees
would think
are not too interested.
Oh, so bees don't like celery?
Not particularly, no.
In the 80s, he developed a valuable variety that grew all year round. He's now more focused on producing disease-resistant lines and taller celery.
Well, we try to get a higher yield of pieces out of a bunch of celery. It's not that easy to do that, though, because you get an extra length and they can blow over in the middle of winter when it rains a lot and so forth, and you end up with a bendy stem and a celery, and nobody wants that either. So there are challenges there.
No doubt there will be challenges here too, as the family sees how their vegetables respond to this virgin land. But unlike some food producers, the grower in charge isn't mourning the loss of the fertile farmland that turned the former market gardeners into major players in the horticulture industry.
I think there's plenty of land in Australia, plenty of good land. It's just water availability that's the biggest issue. And I mean, we've managed to find an area with a lot of water and a lot of water catchment area. But I think, there's still plenty of areas left, and with technology and piping these days, we can move anywhere.
And while the ambitious new bosses are keen to add other veggies to their processing lines down the track, they're not giving the crunchy stick the flick anytime soon.
We'll always grow celery, I think. I love it. It's been my life, and hopefully it's a life for more Shrews generations to come.
When I look at a mussel coming out of the water, like this one here, and I'll see beautiful mussels on the rope, that's what makes me happy.
Hi, I'm Christy O'Brien and I work in the Northern Territory. Up here it's a pretty isolated place and difficult to get around. Getting to a community or station can often take days. The key to surviving is being able to have a good laugh and find the silver lining, even when things aren't going to plan. We thought we'd take you behind the scenes and give you a glimpse of what it's like being on the road with myself and my faithful sidekick, cameraman Ian Jumbuck Redfern.
Now, you doing, Cop?
Nope, take it till you make it. Oh!
We're out into the scrub now, as you might be aware.
Jeez.
Yeah. This time we're looking for buffalo.
On the prowl.
Buffalo, helicopters, and bull catchers. We're following Sally from the station. She met us there a while ago. Kathy? Yeah, that's right. And we're following Kathy from the station. See we going?
We actually don't know what story we're doing, but we are flying by the seat of our pants a little bit on this one.
Which is most unusual for us, because we normally have a rock solid
well
plan.
laid out plan.
Where are your legs?
Chopped them.
I think you should have done your homework before you got out here. I mean, it's a little bit late now.
Cramming, Jumbuck. Haven't you ever done it?
No, that's why I ended up in television. Oh, shivers. There we go. Goodness me. That wasn't planned, was it?
Where are we going, Jumbuck?
We're going to a place called Wanamyo, which is probably not the correct pronunciation, but I'm determined I'm going to get it right by the time we leave. So we've been on the road for about 6.5 hours now, Cop. A bit over 8 hours. We must be nearly there, surely.
I think.
This is the Mighty Man. We're about to head into it.
Oh, road closed.
Apparently the road's closed, but we're going to see what we can do. Piece of cake.
Nailed it.
Been over 9 hours and we're finally here.
Look at the scenery.
Wow.
Wish I brought more flippers.
We just had a pretty hard slog through the scrub. We saw all sorts of country and now we've ended up this beautiful spot on the Man River. And we're going to camp here tonight, do some filming, do some stuff around the campfire. It's just sensational. It's a beautiful spot.
So to see places like this, we would be some of the few people seeing them, which is a reminder our job is pretty cool, Jumbuck. When you get to come to places like this in the world that are so untouched. And
had a minor incident with the car, but it's not too bad, fortunately. So we'll soldier on, and tomorrow's another day. We'll get through.
I'm driving.
The mighty Toyota. Christy's driving, so anything could happen.
They assure us there's no crocs here, and they've been swimming this afternoon, so I believe them.
That's why we've got our backs to the water. Protector of the camp.
Don't mess with me.
It's going to be a slow old drive home, I think.
Truck in front of us.
Still, we could be driving in Sydney.
We could be, Jumbuck. At least the scenery's nice.
Vinegar is where wine was 20 years ago, where coffee was 30 years ago. People are prepared to pay a little bit more for something that's really excellent. No problems. That one looks a bit dark.
It makes you feel fuller so that you want to eat less.
Hi, I'm Emily Gramens in Tasmania. For more than a century, the Wolf family have worked the land at this berry farm just outside Hobart. And while the fourth generation has found success in the music industry, they still want to keep their hands in the dirt. In the dead of Tasmanian winter, the raspberry canes at Wolf's Berry Farm lie dormant. But there's always a job to do on a farm, no matter how small.
Right, Tone. What are we doing, mate?
We're going down to fix that fence that tree come across.
Okay.
Otherwise the cows will get out. We can't have that.
Well, we're going to have a fire too, I reckon.
And have a fire.
The Wolf family have grown berries in Nika, just outside Hobart, for more than 100 years. But the farm's most famous product in recent times isn't a fruit. It's the boys from Tassie who've made it big in country rock, becoming some of Australia's most promising young stars.
There's a neon sign and a welcome mat, a bar in the front and a band in the back. Step aside if you mind, like the sound of that drum, a thump, thumping like band is never coming. Line them up, throw them back.
The Wolf brothers have been on the road for the last few years. But first, they came to national attention on Australia's Got Talent. Then came the touring, music videos, visits to the United States, and the mentorship of country legend Lee Kernaghan.
It's a long straight road and the engine is deep.
They've played shows together and released singles. It's meant juggling a chaotic schedule. The plan was always to see how far they could go in the music business, then come home to take over the family business from their dad. But that road took a detour when the boys got a call from home late last year.
Outskirts of Chicago, going up to Wisconsin, we were in America on tour. We knew he hadn't been well, and we knew he hadn't really... I knew there was something going on that weren't telling us.
I didn't think it would happen so soon. You know, Tom and I have spent the last sort of, 10, 12 years of our life pursuing the band, and we've been away for, a lot of that time, travelling, playing. In my mind, I guess I thought, we'd sort of wind down one day and, come back home and sort of gradually transition. And Dad would, be showing us the ropes, but as you know, it doesn't really work out.
Their father, Malcolm Wolfe, died late last year. He worked the farm with his brother Tony for decades. He loved it, filming hours of home video around the farm in the 1980s. But he also loved music and played drums in a band. Two legacies his sons couldn't escape.
My first sort of memories of Dad sort of thrusting a toy guitar into my hands and making me try to mime John Williamson songs or something like that. And Dad, I think, bought me a drum kit when I was like 3 or something.
Malcolm encouraged his boys to leave home and pursue their dreams. When he died, the family faced some tough decisions about the future of the berry farm. But in the end, no one wanted to let it go.
It's our family and our history. The easy thing to do would be sell it, subdivide it, but that's not what we're going to do. This is our name, this is where we're from, and we want to keep it alive.
Faced with the typical challenges of the land, the boys will have to put down their guitars and pick up some different tools of the trade. Guiding them along is their uncle Tony, who's showing them the ropes and sharing his memories of how things used to be done.
Dad and Tony have been so supportive of us doing music, and that is what we have dedicated the last 10 years of our lives to doing, But it's really nice to come back and hear that stuff.
It's also an opportunity to share music memories.
There's a bit of band history there.
It's
just a bit.
It's cool with the music. Is like we go to gigs now, and we've had people come to used to go and watch our granddad play with Tony and Dad. Then they used to go watch Dad's band, and now they're coming to watch us.
After months overseas and weeks more touring throughout the country, the boys love nothing more than coming home to the peace and stillness of southern Tasmania.
We've been here our whole lives. You think you know everything, but it's not until you literally get thrown in the deep end, something like that, where you actually, wow, how do you do these books? Or there's a lot of gaps in my knowledge.
There's a sense of me that feels, it's, with Dad not here, there's a big set of responsibility to take on that, maybe I wasn't ready to take on. Maybe, I was kind of looking forward to being 10 years down the track with a couple of kids and letting him watch them and him teaching them a few things. And
here we go. Helping hold up the fort is their mum, Lee. She's always happy to have her sons at home to catch up on their musical adventures. Lee knows intimately how demanding the farm work can get in the summer.
This fruit season was particularly difficult because we'd just lost Malcolm and we were thrown into the deep end, shall we speak. We were a man down and we had to all step up to the plate, and we did that.
For the last few months, the family has mostly focused on keeping things going. The brothers got through the picking season and they've been juggling the band and jobs around the farm. But just like in their music careers, Tom and Nick are thinking big.
It's on the slope. You've got to put raspberries on the slope so they don't like wet feet.
For the first time in many years, they're planting new canes.
Our granddad worked so much of the fruit on the hill, and just we were trying to transfer a lot of it down to the flat. We've done some soil tests. The soil here is really nice. The nutrients are good, and hopefully this will be one of our best crops yet. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, so we're kind of just sort of flying by the seat of our pants and figuring it out as we go, and trying to keep the whole legacy and everything alive, I guess. 2, 3, 4.
But they're not putting down their guitars. All the farming will have to happen around their music career, although the two do meet somewhere in the middle.
Whether we subconsciously realise it or not, this is where the sort of music come from, you know. Whether we know it or not, you know, it's kind of come out through our songs, it's come out through our music, and I think it's given us a real good sense of home.
Never leaves you.
With bandmate Brodie Rainbird living on the same street, there's plenty of time for practice. Jamming on the farm harks back to their early days. And an early fan.
Mal was just all for it. He wanted his boys to go as far as they possibly could. Big loss for everyone.
He loved it. One instance when he was really ill in hospital, and Lee had taken a little tablet in there, and it showed part of the show they'd done the night before or something. Look, you know, the look in his eye said it all, really. Sorry.
I love it. Like, it's, you know, been all over Australia and America, but coming home here, it's like, well, it's home. This is where we're from. I feel fully relaxed here. My family's here, and I just feel really comfortable here. And it's just a really nice place to sort of regroup, rest, and get ready to go for the next crazy run, whatever that will be.
And that's the show. Thanks for your company. From the Landline team, we wish you all a safe and happy new year. And we'll see you in 2018. On the next episode, Australian macadamias taking on the world.
It's on trend for paleo, it's on trend for gluten-free. Nuts tick so many boxes.
Fashionable farming. And the effort to make sure you get salad and only salad.